All right, so we began the session with big hopes and big dreams. We started to drift, but you can see now all of these, well, almost everything is getting back its groove. But here's the thing. Gold, crude oil, they popped right at the open, slipped into negative territory. All your major indices are well off the session highs. Now, there is one asset, though, that's really going on really strong. It's sort of after lulling investors to sleep over the weekend. Bitcoin took off right after midnight, and it really hasn't looked back. Joining me now, Alpha Trend CEO Brian Shannon. And Brian, you actually posted a tweet that says, don't short a dull market. We know that's an old saying. I didn't know it applied to Bitcoin as well. Too many negative bets or just people thinking that it wasn't going to move?
I think a combination of both, Charles. We saw what looked to me like the two lowest volume days of the year in Bitcoin. And, you know, it had that bearish look like it was about to break in. And a lot of times that serves to kind of gather in some new shorts and put them in a position that's ripe to be squeezed. So today we're up, like you said, we're up at about 31.2. And it looks like, you know, we have the potential to continue this bounce, but we're still in a primary downtrend in Bitcoin.
We're in a downtrend and it feels like we're range bound. What would the upside be, the upside test that could maybe signal a reversal higher? Because we know once this breaks out, really breaks out, the bandwagon fills up quickly.
It does. You know, but the longer-term trend, I think, is going to need time to heal. On the way up, though, if we can follow through on this rally, there's two levels I've got an eye on. One is the volume-weighted average price off of the March high, and that would bring us up to about 35,000. And then just above that, we have the year-to-date volume-weighted average price, which is at about 37,000. And when you look at the chart, that was a prior level of horizontal support as well. And we know that support broken tends to act as resistance on tests as people who are trapped there try to, you know, reposition and maybe look to break even on their trade.
Let's talk about the overall market, the S&P 500. It seems to be stalled as well. Maybe someone can short this one, get a spark going.
It's really tricky here, Charles. I mean, last time we spoke, we were looking at that volume-weighted average price off the COVID low, and that was pretty much the absolute low of this, you know, move so far, at least, right? So we're bouncing again, and we're also in the S&P up to the volume-weighted average price off of the March high. That is, you know, potentially going to hold us back in here a little bit. We've got a declining 50-day moving average, so it's really tricky. I don't want to tell anyone that they should chase the market here, but I think it's a little too early to short it. Maybe if we break below 409 or so in the SPY, if we're to break below that and then hold below it, you know, you could maybe risk 2 or 3 points and then look for a retest of the lows in the SPY.
What about these gap openings? You know, we've had a few of them the last few weeks, and most of them have ended up being just, I mean, is it bait? And if it's bait, who sets these traps?
That's a good question. It's certainly not me. And, you know, it's someone with a lot of risk tolerance to do it. It just shows that we're in an emotionally driven market. And I think, you know, the one potential positive we can read out of that is that volatility tends to peak at turning points and diminishes with the trend. So all of this volatility we're seeing is maybe the market trying to carve out a longer-term low, but it's just too difficult to really get in there with any conviction on either side of the market.
Let's talk about an individual name you like. I think there's a name that you like in the chip sector.
Yeah, the semiconductors are trying to lead the way. They're fighting with their declining 50-day moving average, and everyone looks to the same names all the time. They always want to look at AMD or they want to look at NVIDIA. One that's a little bit overlooked right now, I think, is Analog Devices, symbol ADI. That one is, amongst this group, one of the leaders, I think, because it's back above the volume-weighted average price from the all-time high it made about 9 months ago. And it's holding above and after holding the volume-weighted average price off the COVID low. So those are good signs. And right now, we're kind of in a little bit of no man's land. But if we can get above 167 right now, I think that you could look to buy ADI with a stop around 163 and then look for a revisit to the highs up the 190-ish level.
Wow, I like that risk-reward ratio right there. Brian, thank you so much. Always appreciate it. We always learn something. All right, folks, coming up.
Great, thank you.
Why would Nobel laureates back a decidedly anti-capitalistic agenda? We're going to get reaction from Daniel DiMartino Booth and Judy Shelton after the break. Also, I'll ask the question that Cardi B and millions of other Americans are asking. What's up with recession? We'll be right back.